The idea for my interventions is that I want to put a scale to the architecture, and in this series it's about placing my body in between the buildings and these small gaps, which is also a transition between the public space and the inside, like a physical relation to the architecture. A lot of my work has been realized in big cities. I find these urban landscapes interesting because they follow a large plan, but sometimes they are not really oriented on a human scale. For example, I was working in one of the most densely populated places on Earth, and at the same time the buildings are so close and the structure is so dense, but they always have these small gaps in between the buildings, and I found these spaces that are like cracks or like small openings in this cityscape very interesting and very telling, and in a way it's also like taking architecture pictures but not photographing the architecture but photographing the space in between. Surprisingly, there's very little reaction usually by the passerbys, and I think that's because I like to keep the space or the site when I'm recording very open. Like I usually work alone and I just place my tripod and the camera, and then the intervention is very embedded in the everyday, because I don't want to control the space like a film set or like a where I organize the whole space and also the behavior of the passerbys. I like to have it like a complex space where everyone does his and her own thing. So sometimes I'm surprised that there's so little, people take so little note of it. On the other hand, like a very different movement in the city that just not like a spectacular performance, but it's just one part of the everyday movements.